So thanks for the invitation. Thanks for this opportunity to present my work or our work that we did over the last 2 years. So here is what are we going to do. I will present myself first, and then what is our vision, and then a little bit of the project, and then stay tuned on a political timeline. This will be homework, and then very briefly project results and summary. So a couple of words about myself. I'm a natural scientist. I do not have an IT background as maybe many people here. So my IT skills are just very basic. I did some IT courses during my studies in physics, but that was never applied. I'm also a digital transformation manager, and I joined Charité 2 years ago to fight pandemic. And after that, I got infected with the Vision Zero. My motivation, I'm a natural scientist. Scientific presentation usually start with a motivation. Cancer is the second most often reason of death in Germany. You see some statistics on the left top. And at the same time, this is shocking for me because the documentation of cancer cases is still paper-based. And there is still a gap between healthcare and research due to the limited digitization and digitalization. And as a scientist, I'm coming from the right bottom corner of this slide. So nowadays, there are so many data platforms. Cancer has genetic reasons. There's so many potential to use the data about genetic alterations to predict the therapies. This is terrible. And I brought you some more statistics in the left down corner. So this is the latest report on official data, governmental data in Germany. And around 500,000 people get cancer diagnosis yearly. And nearly 50% of them die from cancer. And over 5 years, it makes over 1 million people, which is 2 cities of Leipzig. But the most terrible here on this slide are not the numbers, and the number of deaths is terrible. But if you're very curious, then you might see that I also put some data on when the reports were published. So the report was published in 2021, which is 2 years ago. And it reports the statistics, which is 5 years old. A lot of potential. Now, what is the Vision Zero? The vision comes actually from the mobility sector. And the curve here shows the number of road traffic deaths in thousands over time. And the red dots demonstrate that there is a need for political actions, for legal changes in order to prevent those deaths. And the Vision Zero means that every avoidable death should be avoided, also in hospitals. And Vision Zero, it is a Verein, it's a association, thank you. And this is a number of companies who joined forces to fight or to address the key issues in the German healthcare system. And the action plan is a Berlin statement, Berliner Erklärung, which was developed 2 years ago in July. And as a reaction to that, we started the GOLD project. So digitalization is one of the problems in Germany, and some interesting data on the bottom left corner. There was a project, Digital Radar. So how digitized or digitalized are the hospitals in Germany are? And Germany has 33%. And I do not provide you with the data on other European countries, but you may already interpret it. What we focus on are the standards. So everyone needs data. Everyone wants to collect data. Everyone wants to share data, and so on. But data need to be exchanged to be used. And data exchange begins with the unified standards. And this is called interoperability. And the interoperability begins not on the technical side, but on the human side and on the definition of the content that needs the data standards. What is German Oncological Data Standard? So L stays for logical, G currently for German, maybe later for general. Our goal is we want to push politics to provide the society with shared, obligatory, patient-centered data exchange standards for the whole patient journey, at least for oncology. To do so, we do not want to develop another project or develop some new data elements or to do the work from the very beginning. So the philosophy is to use what we already have. There are enough of solutions, there are not enough of data sets, there are not enough of ready to use options, and they should be just combined. And we try to find or to push different actors in the healthcare sector, really all possible actors, to find a consensus about existing definitions, standards, terminologies, and so on. So our governance is very participative and agile. And I think what is important is that we're not trying to make a product. We are trying to bring people together and to make them communicate with each other. We don't have funding in a classical sense. Like there is no external funding. Everything what we do are internal resources of like-minded persons and of like-minded companies that are members of the Vision Zero Association. So now, slowly to the political timeline. Yeah, politics must act. Politics does act, meanwhile. Last year, European Health Data Space proposal was published. And it defines it proposes the actions that must be met, requirements that must be met in the whole European space. And it addresses as well low interoperability in the healthcare sector, soft law instruments, and they also published some results of the research, and 60% of responses were for the mandatory use of those standards. Now, what exactly is a data standard? So according to the proposal of the European Commission, I just, on the previous slide, you see those bold text. So I just curated or combined all definitions, all words that stand next to the word standard in the document. And this is the definition according to the European Commission. A standard is semantic and technical standards, technical specifications, profiles, data sets, and descriptions of infrastructures. This everything makes a standard. And here are also some levels of the standard. So it begins with the content definition. We can only create technical standards or IT standards when we know for what. We first need to make consensus about the content. Then we need the terminology for that. Then we need syntax, and then this everything forms a data model. And in all those levels, there is a lot to do to harmonize all those levels. But maybe just for understanding, so content definition is a communication between human and human. Then when we start talking to the machines, they need machine codes. So this is what the terminology for. Then when there is a format, and computer can communicate with a computer and exchange data in one certain format, then this is the same syntax. And currently we have at least 3 very common models. This is a CDISC model, OMOP model, and FHIR. FIRE is relatively new one. OMOP and CDISC are well known meanwhile. Like when the community agreed on all the previous 3 levels, then it comes to the mappings between the OMOP to FIRE and CDISC to FIRE and so on. In GOLD, we try to as a proof of concept, we try to go through the process of harmonization of all those levels in order to find out the right approach. And a very important message here is in the red box, the start is in the content definition. Now the political timeline, I said this is the homework. Maybe, I think you remember me as the lady with the QR codes after this presentation. Here on the top, you see more or less the results of our project. And on the bottom is the German political timeline. And you see the Berlin statement, you see the proposal of the European Commission, and you see that there is a gap of 1 year. So the GOLD project started far before the politics started acting. And this allowed us to actually share our results with the polity and indeed push a little bit of digitalization processes, because we could share our results directly with the Interop Council. Anybody knows Interop Council? Yeah, 1 person, 2. So for the rest of you, please check the QR codes. Interop Council was formed by the Federal Ministry of Health as an expert board for interoperability, and they made FIRE standards now more or less mandatory. And they also have more or less agile governance. So there's an expert pool, and I'm one of the members of this expert pool. And from the expert pool, they form different working groups. And the GOLD team was on board of already 2 working groups. The last one has finished 1 week ago, and we have finished our Positionspapier. Which will be published, I think, in July and August, so stay tuned. And there are 2 more laws coming out soon, I think by the end of the year. This is GDNG, Gesundheitsdatennutzungsgesetz, so the law which will probably bring a little bit more freedom to the data sharing, data usage, patient data. And Digitalisierungsgesetz, DGG, which is more or less about what will happen with the EPA. Very briefly to the project results so far. So I said it begins with the content definition. What we did, we just very pragmatically did some research on the internet and looked for oncological data sets. And then we just put this everything together into one table, one Excel sheet, basically. And then we tried to bring some structure. So we looked for contact, and then we formed curated parameter groups by contact. And here is one of examples. You see that the same laboratory parameter is expressed in different languages in different ways, and different data sets in very different ways. And if we try to apply some language models, then it's pretty hard to recognize it. So currently, I'm not sure, maybe it got better, but 2 years ago, it was impossible. We did some tries, and it was impossible to optimize that. So me and a couple of more people, we just sit down and scroll through the whole table and bring some structure by content. And so this is what the curated parameter group is. And what you see in the line code, maybe you remember that I said that the next level will be the semantic, the terminology. So this is the line code that actually should be also provided next to this curated parameter group, so that like it's not enough to only say, okay, this should be curated parameter somehow LDH. Actually, what the computer would understand is the line code 60020-5. This is the actual potential for the language models to use. This is the actual application, the real world application, I think, that can be easily implemented to help doctors and researchers and everyone to communicate. This would be a great benefit. Now, this is the current state of our monster table. You see also here, this is a diagram. So this is, we have now almost 400 of curated parameter groups. It's not possible to show them on one slide in one diagram. So this is why we divided them also into 2 domains. Aligned with the patient journey, like the general information, something about, I don't know, insurance number or doctor and so on. Then the patient, him or herself, like how fit, what are supporting medications, or what are other diseases except for oncological ones. Then everything about the tumor diagnosis and everything about diagnostic, and especially about the genetical testing. And then also data about the data elements about the tumor conferences and clinical research, clinical studies. Then therapy, how good the therapy works, and then this magenta pink is something missing actually in the most of data sets. So this is the supporting care. So what we know here, the patient journey is still incomplete, like no data set, never national nor international, collects the complete information about the patient journey. It is still very far from the reality, and there are still so many data missing. So what comes next after the content definition? So our content definition are those curated parameter groups by content. After that, we start with the technical representation of those as FHIR profiles. And also here we keep our philosophy, which is don't do work if it's already done. So we don't start the profiling from the very beginning. We just see, okay, so this is a LDH. Is there a FHIR profile for LDH already somewhere in the world? And then we try to consolidate those specifications and try to suggest the best one. So the best in the sense of the one which could become a standard. And again, we're not the best of best. We do not aim to produce a final product, but we try to find a way to agree on a standard. So after we find a consolidated specification, we give it to reviewers, and if there are, of course, multiple feedback loops in every step actually, and then also between the steps, and finally, when everything is set, we publish it on GitHub. So if you are interested in the results, you can just check the link later. At the moment, around 20% of our maximal table are done. We could suggest standards for one of the most oncological elements, like T-name staging, or Echo and Karnofsky performance status, or tumor grading, and so on. Also very interesting, we have recently published the results to RECIST, and to radiological diagnostic report. And those were done basically from the beginning, because there were very few results that we could find on the internet, or at least publicly available, open source. And we also did an estimate how it looks like in general, also beyond the gold, how it looks like in FIRE standards at all. And you see that for maybe around 50%, there are kind of works, there are already published FIRE standards that have to be still harmonized and maybe finished. But for another half, there are no FIRE standards, and we have to do them from the very beginning, like from the content definition and then through the terminology and to the syntax and so on. So to summarize, Germany needs shared oncological data standards that are internationally conform, based on best practices, developed through comparison, integration, and harmonization of existing and used data items, and their definitions and corresponding specifications. And we still want to do it for the whole evidence-based, comprehensive oncological patient journey. And the data should be shared by research, healthcare, and industry. And this is only possible if many stakeholders join forces. Otherwise, it will be still a project, a lonely one. But it has a potential. Here are our contributors so far. I did not put all the logos of contributing companies because it would take too much space and it wouldn't be too personal. So here are the names of people who, do the work just because they're curious. And if you are interested in contributing, then you could send an email to Vision Zero, to Georg Ralle, or just in general to gold@charité.de. Become a member of Vision Zero, contribute into Gold, get infected. Thanks.